Hi, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a
Oh, man. I was getting myself a concussion doing that.
We lost all of our viewers during that. That was kind of funny. A couple people hopped on like immediately, and they're like, "I'm good with this. I'm fine. I don't need to listen to these two tonight."
I hate intros. I hate them. Just get into the content already.
God.
I felt like I was channeling Batista, but then I kind of felt like we were doing little hell divers too.
Mike, that might be my favorite multiplayer game of all time. I'm
glad you zoomed in for that.
Hot take. Hot take that this is my dream multiplayer game because I don't have to compete. We're just buddies. We work together, so I don't have to be put on a pedestal for how crappy I am. I don't fail less that often because it is a computer that we're facing. But I think ultimately it's just it's one step better than Dead by Daylight, because you still had to go against somebody who might be smarter than you in Dead by Daylight, and now it's just the silly computer, and you can outsmart the computer, and you just got to kill those damn bugs.
Yes. No, Jared, it's a close second to Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It's Helldivers 2, available on, I think, just about any platform that's not Nintendo, because you can get it on PC, and we've been playing it on PlayStation. But Matt, I know that relationships can be hard, marriages can be even harder, but it looks like perhaps the Red Wings and Todd McLellan honeymoon has come to a screeching halt. I know a lot of people couldn't wait to write that headline, and man, we really crapped the bed yesterday, and I really like your title. New coach boost runs out of juice. I think it needed an ST at the end, but I like it.
It's a soft rhyme. Dang it. It's fine.
It's a middle rhyme. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I wouldn't the honeymoon's over implies I don't know. It feels to me it implies much worse, but I do just kind of feel like, and we'll talk about it today. I mean, we had a 7-game winning streak and we lost 1 game. Granted,
it's hyperbole. The honeymoon is this season. If you already hate Todd McLellan, then we need to make another coaching change. I don't think I would say that the honeymoon is over. The streak is over. The honeymoon continues.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week, and I think we're going to talk about it again. And you saw in the press conference after that game yesterday, things have been clearly identified, and Todd McLellan is going to work his buns off, or at least we're supposing. And we'll test this, and we'll come back and see what the solutions were. But he's going to work his buns off and try and fix what was going wrong. So I think ultimately, what we want to do is see what happens based on what he's calling out our problems. What did we see in this game? Which I saw a lot of William Eklund being left wide open. Really, it's just cross ice passes with. It's not one of those things where it's like a Patrick Kane between 3 pairs of legs. No, it's just wide open ice, and you're giving Macklin Celebrini all the space in the world to just have fun. It was a real brain fart kind of defensive play against the Sharks. So we start the conversation there, not to say that Todd McLellan did anything wrong, but instead to say, I think very clearly, new coach boost can run out of juice. I think you can fall into the trap before you're about to go on a long road trip. And I think you can fall into the trap that San Jose Sharks, who ultimately, so far this season have proven to be not like just an easy pushover like last year, where it was like, what, it was like 27 games or something that they were like winless or something. Or maybe I'm thinking of like a goals for, goals against. They went on like a 10-game losing streak. It was ugly last year, and it's not like a pushover. Macklin Celebrini's making some real changes. They have some good goaltending this year. It's not a team that's going to challenge for a playoff spot. They're not going to be middling. They're going to get another good draft pick this year, but for sure they're not the pushovers they were last year. So if you come in on a 7-game winning streak, if you come in on a potential trap game, which historically teams on their last home game before a long road trip have a losing record, and if you come in against the team that has a losing record itself, all of those things combined, it just seemed like a perfect storm yesterday. Because again, who are the culprits of letting, well, like I think of that Celebrini pass where he takes the puck round the boards from behind the net. Poor Ville Husso left out to dry as William Eklund comes up on the side of the net, punches one in the back, hitting the twine. It's Moritz Seider. That is one of the guys that sort of missed the assignment there. And it wasn't even too poor. It was just, it was a whole group of Red Wings that probably could have stopped that puck going across the ice to Eklund. And yeah, they didn't. So does that mean I'm worried about Moritz Seider? No. Does that mean I'm worried about Todd McLellan? Nope. It more or less, we'll look at his press conference. Kind of felt like he was saying, I saw this coming. Kind of feels like he's identified some of the problem areas. Kind of feels like I'm not too worried.
Ooh, I really like, because we've had a few comments, Dan B mentioning accountability, and Jared saying blown coverage all over, the worst kind of blown. Right, Jared? Kyle Dickerson, welcome aboard, saying Husso is definitely not that guy. That first goal was soft as fudge. And then Rutas' second goal of the year. So I do want to say that Husso did not play the greatest goaltending game of all time. However, that defense was atrocious. The closest comp I could think of was a Detroit Tigers regular season game not started by Skubal. It just looked like nobody was really focused defensively. And they did kind of get on the saddle a little bit and score a couple goals. So it was nice to see Tarasenko get out of his slump. I'm sure we'll dedicate a few minutes here to, giving him some flowers for one game at least. He was really close to getting goal number 3. But yeah, on this show, Matt and I don't think that, Husso's made it very difficult for us to be excited about him starting games. But, his past couple starts, I just wanted to make sure I had this pulled up. He did get bombed against Vancouver, right? Giving up 5 goals, which, did include overtime. But, he held Boston 2 goals in regulation. Ottawa 2 goals in regulation. Colorado 2 goals in regulation. Then he won that big, gigantic, huge Toronto game that we were all really excited about. And I know he did, technically give up, 5, but that defense was so bad. I mean, there was a couple stretches where there was 3 or 4 Red Wings on one board, and like Sharks were so wide open. It looked like a 3-on-3 in overtime. Like it was unbelievable how much ice was left to kind of be played around with for the Sharks. So,
well, yeah, I mean, here's the replay. Like, look, who's at fault here, right? Like, you're watching Marco Kasper, who I am quite enjoying this season. Dylan Larkin, Ben Sherratt, who's having a bit of a
real quick before you get into this, Jared saying Matt was not even listening, which was really funny. Thank you, Jared. I'm glad you got my back, buddy. Matt he's doing important stuff over here. He's queuing up videos. He doesn't have time to listen to his co-host.
Was it that hard? Was it that obvious? Sorry.
Oh, it was really obvious. We saw the glaze go over your eyes, and there's another screen you were on playing Marvel Rivals. Who knows what you're doing? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we need some moolah so we can actually pay Jared to be our producer. But no, I mean, who's the culprits on that one?
Thank you, Jared.
It's uh-oh. I gotta hide all my my tabs there. Let me pull that off real quick before you guys see all the porn hubs. Nobody screenshot. Not allowed.
Get him, Jared. Rewind.
Don't do it.
10 seconds. Go back.
I mean, long story short, and showing that replay, ugly defense. Do you expect Dylan Larkin and Moritz Seider not to like be kicking themselves after the game? Like they absolutely were, and they were pissed. You know, like it's something I'm just not worried about right now. But we're going to talk about why I'm not so worried about it. But before we do that, I think it's worth it. We can take a look at the standings here.
Ooh, doggy.
Mike,
Dan B saying careful. Gary Bettman's coming for us for showing a quick 5-second clip there.
Oh,
and I do want to touch on Crimson. Crimson, we got some. I'm pretty sure we got the slides up, so we are going to touch on this later. But saying refreshing to have a coach that will rip their ass like we do.
Yeah, so good when you've got a coach that's just gonna grab your ass and just rip it to shreds. Oh yeah. Come on, Todd, get it.
Yeah, I mean the change in personality right from Lalone, but also feeling like, to kind of borrow Dan's word up top, accountability. I think it means a little bit more from a guy who's led a team into the playoffs and had him in first place. So it's coming from a place that you're like, all right, coach, you're right. I did suck ass.
Kyle thrown in there. Not a lot of help last night. Admit that. I just thought that bad first goal kind of set the tone.
100%, Kyle.
Kyle. Yeah, nailed it.
You know what Matt and I have talked about too is like seeing the Red Wings effort, how horrible they were on defense, and just kind of letting the Sharks kind of skate at will wherever they wanted. I would just juxtapose that with how excited and how hard they played when Kosa got a start. And it was like, we got to win one for this kid. And this is when our team was, still under the Penguin regime. And you could see there was pep in the step. There was force in the hits. There's a little mustard on the shots. And it kind of feels like they play a different game with Husso. And yeah, he hasn't helped himself, right, by being super duper awesome. But I don't know. It feels infectious when they see him out there. I think yesterday was just an example of that. But yeah, Matt, let's jump into the standings here. Jared has confirmed he's got some great screenshots that we're going to use to blackmail you later.
Nice.
Red Wings standings. Let's go.
Just look, Michelle. I'm sorry.
You guys had a great run.
Guys got to do what I had a great run. Guys got to do what a guy's got to do. All right. So Mike, a 7-game winning streak. Where does that put you? Are you first in the Atlantic? No, Mike, you're 7th. Holy mackerel, this is hard. For anybody listening to the pod, not watching on YouTube with us, we're currently, you've got your 2 wild card spots. We are, I don't know, how do we want to say this? 3 teams below the 2nd wild card spot. There we go. Mike, all of planet Earth is rooting.
I really thought a Jeff Goldblum impression was coming. How do you say this? We're not in. So on the outside looking in.
Mike doing his Matt Freund impression of Jeff Goldblum. I'm kidding. That guy, I'm so sick of that guy. He was the host of the NHL Awards. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
He is tall.
Okay. Mike, yours is better than his. I
appreciate that. Yeah. He's.
I took a shot, but I didn't actually mean it. That's what I'm trying to get at.
No, just being a tall host helps in the same way being a goalie that's taller helps.
All right. Okay. Back to what we're actually talking about. Wildcard standings. We are behind Boston and Columbus, who actually hold the wildcard spots right now. 49 points, 48 points, Boston, Columbus, respectively. Mike, then you got Ottawa, 47, Montreal at 46. Mike, this is a battle that the Atlantic Division wants to get another team in there. Metro's like, I don't really care that much, but damn it all to hell, Mike. If with the Red Wings behind 2 teams to get the number 2 spot, and with some of the teams that are nipping at your heels, include the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
This is a tough task. And, you were joking before we signed on that one of your coworkers called out that we have the toughest schedule of any team in,
Well,
the
now,
NHL remaining.
right.
Right.
After the past 5 games. Yeah.
It'll obviously change after our next little road trip here. So everybody can calm down on that one. But, what are you expecting to pull from, your hardest road trip of the season? Are you looking at it and going, all right, we just got to go 500. And then we're back to reality, or is reality 500 for the rest of the way? Somebody called out, actually it was Puck Soup called out, like, this might be 85 points might get you into the playoffs this year. Because even though all of planet Earth is rooting for Columbus right now, and you've got Boston in the mix, you've got the Rangers in the mix. Igor Shesterkin was out for a little bit, but for sure that power play can get hot. Shesterkin can get hot. Philly could still cause you some trouble, and we've got Philly in the mix over the next few games. Pittsburgh could still cause you trouble, and we've got wait, do we have Pittsburgh? I don't know. But Montreal just seems to be like on a magical season. Ottawa's trying to play this game of just like, can we hold on without Ullmark? And I think he's either just coming back or he's coming back the next week. And, are they going to run off a little bit of a streak here? Are they going to just be like a game over 500, which might do it for the rest of the season here? But all of these teams are going to be playing the same game here, where they're going to be winning one and losing one. And for sure, the Red Wings, after winning 7, we're back in the fight. But I think expectation for the rest of the season isn't that you're looking at Ottawa, Montreal, Philly, Pittsburgh, New York, Columbus, and Boston, and you're saying, well, for sure, we're better than all these teams. We're a big family right now, Mike. We're all kind of in the same group. And for every team that's had its struggles, like Boston, they might be turning it around right now, just the same time as the Red Wings. So it's tough.
It's so congested. And I think Crimson Shadow said it best when he said, this division has become the battle of the mid, this battle, and this wild card. I feel like I'm picking between like Applebee's, Fridays, and Chili's. And it's like, well, it's all the same shit. But no, one of them's better. One of them's better incrementally. So I just hope the Red Wings are Chili's, because that queso dip is pretty good.
Yeah, it was Jeff Merrick on his new pod, which I highly recommend. He has a pretty good schedule all week. Every Tuesdays with Greg Wyshynski, and every Fridays with
friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show. He's been on an old episode. God, who's Berkey? I think is Fridays, and he was saying no matter what happens here, he's like, the story is going to be intriguing for the regular season, but one of these teams is backing into the play. Like nobody. The comment was all of these teams are going to back into the playoffs. Nobody is going to put the car in drive and take the spot. Everyone's just going to be slowly backing up, putting on their turn signal. Nah, it's my spot. And that'll be the game. And then you'll get 4 solid games, right? A playoff hockey, you get 2 home games guaranteed. I think we'll still do that for
owners.
us.
The owners will be really excited. Get a couple extra home games. That's
nice. Crimson, you nailed it. Division has become battle of the mid. So I think it'll be something we need to keep an eye on, because another thing too, you talk about trying to improve this team, because that's what it's going to take, is probably some trade deadline acquisitions. And I don't know, Mike, if you remember what our big acquisition was last year. It was a big fat donut. So we acquired nothing last year, and it did us no good. So Steve
tough
said
to say with our affections for donuts. That's a tough one to bring up.
Right. Steve did say playoffs was the goal this year. So at that point, we will know if we were trying to make the playoffs or not.
I think with Steve, I do have some questions, because Crimson, he's coming in hot tonight. Crimson, thank you. First of all, saying Chili's is better. It is significantly better. So hopefully, again, the Red Wings can be the Chili's of the Chili's Applebee's Friday war.
Chi-Chi's is coming back in the mix, by the way. Reopening this year.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the fight.
Welcome back, Chi-Chi.
But Crimson saying, after last night, we got to be talking about swapping Husso for Kosa or Campbell. Again, where did Kyle go? Kyle was talking about, the soft goal didn't help, right? The defense definitely, gave up, 4 of those goals, 5 if you want to count the empty netter. But again, it's like this team just plays better when it's not Husso. I'm sorry, dude. You've spurned them so many times. You can just see there's like a little lost half step there. where I think if you called up Kosa, there'd be a little more, we'll say, urgency. And it feels like with all these teams being so congested, every point should count. So it kind of feels like just rolling the dice on maybe this will be a good Husso start. It's if you're serious about doing the playoffs, I don't know if we can keep playing the maybe game because I don't think anyone's making a move for that contract. So you're gonna either just have to wait till the end of the year. You're not trading them, so you're not showcasing them. You're just snuffing out Kosa's opportunities. Oh man, nice highlight here on Dan saying back in it or not. When the second wild card beats the Leafs in the first round, it will be glorious.
That is a great call by Dan B. You might be onto something, but I would be very scared, especially with Florida's about to get to. Oh well, all right. I shouldn't be mean anymore. We did win 7 in a row, but Florida's got a juicy opportunity here to take the first spot in the Atlantic with Detroit coming to town. I don't know why I said Detroit. Blake, I like this comment. Yeah, all mid teams win 7 straight. Lol.
Well, kind of.
Yeah. It's just what you rattle off before and after. It's how many of those 7-game streaks do you get?
I don't know if you watched Avengers Infinity War, Blake, but it's basically rocket propulsions, lasers, a big punch, and Thanos going all that for a drop of blood. 7 in a row to still be 4 points out. So it's just tough to sustain. So we're just saying it's a tough uphill drive, and hopefully our car has enough horsepower to back up the rest of the hill. But I did love Dan B saying 23 of the final 39 are on the road. Yikes. But Blake positively pointing out we still get 16 delicious home games of our final 39.
That's a great point. Mike, do you want to take a stab at who has a better record than us in the last 10 with our 7-game winning streak?
Montreal.
Oh, yes. You
did
nail it.
Did I win?
You did, but I didn't even. It was not who I had in mind. So Montreal is better than us by 1 overtime loss. So they are 7-2-1. We're 7-3. I was actually going to call out Columbus, who's 8-2, with a 5-game winning streak right now. Blake, now 8-2. So they're better than you in your last 10, and they're on a 5-game winning streak.
Damn it!
Are you elevating Columbus if they win 2 more to not being mid? Because I'm still calling them mid, my man. So I don't know. Why am I doing this to poor Blake? Blake, I love you. I don't know why I always rag on him.
He did a little extra homework today because he is pointing out, which is true, Bobrovsky is struggling. So maybe we don't get shut out in our next game. Maybe. It's not insurmountable, right? It's 1 loss. It's just it's such a bummer that this is how we lost, like a complete defensive meltdown.
Can anybody read this?
If you max out your screen, you can see that Matt shared something in size 4 font. Jared, please confirm if it's size 4 or size 6 on your end.
All right. I mean, the only thing I wanted to call out here, or actually 2 things. Simon Edmondson, even in a loss against the Sharks, turned in a hell of a game. He's going to walk away as the MVP of the night, according to Dom Luszczyszyn's gamer score that he throws out there every night. William Eklund, number 2, which I think is also fun because, correct, am I wrong? Were they not the same draft, one after the other? Which is kind of cool that they played against each other and Edmondson walks away with the better gamer score. But last on this list, Mike, that's probably the most impactful here is Justin Hall. And very funny, by the way, I also noticed you have Justin Hall for the Wings. Of course, Philly Husso's dead last, but Justin Hall, the last skater for the Wings. Last skater on this list for the Sharks, Timothy Liljegren. So a couple of Maple Leaf vets there. A couple of buddies. All right. Let me get off the screen.
I'm surprised that Jared didn't give us a Zoolander. What is this? A graphic for ants?
Yeah, it was still like this is a game. We're coming back to the Sharks game again. I think the important thing isn't that what the result was or what happened. I think it was everything that happened afterwards that we want to take a look at, which was press conference from our boy Todd.
Jared did give a tip for that last graphic. He said if you have a 55-inch TV and you zoom to full screen, you can almost read it. I do want to come to Crimson's question, Matt, real quick.
Yeah.
I wonder what Todd does. Will he bench Hall and move Casper down because of this loss?
Well, we are going to get into that a little bit. I don't know. Everything is just a big... Here, I'll show you guys. Everything for the rest of the show is just a big black box with some text where I wanted to go through these and we could read them together and we could talk about each little paragraph here.
Dan B saying, easy to say upgrade the D. Everybody wants to upgrade their D. Dan, is that a free plug for hymns? I like that a lot.
Blake, now you're throwing me off with this comment. Blake throws out there, Todd won't do shite. Yzerman needs to upgrade. Yeah. Yzerman needs to upgrade the D, which is where Dan B's coming in. Easy to say upgrade the D. Everybody wants to upgrade their D. Blake, you're blowing my mind right now, Blake. I cannot believe that you are already critical on Todd McLellan. Are you crazy, man?
I think what he's saying is that Todd can't make the changes that are required. The real solution to the problem is Yzerman. So like having McLellan, he can't like just reboggle, Hall being a complete jabroni. It would take a personnel change. I think that's what he's getting at. And then he did say Byron, please, which Blake, I will ring that bell as well. Bling.
Blake, that's the thing. That's why you're blowing my mind, because that's the horn I've been tooting for the last
Crimson
few months. I'm just Blake. We're on the same page. That's why my mind's blown.
Crimson, hats off for stealing the show notes. Stop calling all the topics, you rascal.
Mike, is that just you in the comments?
Yeah. And then Jared with a bid for a comment of the show saying Casper's controller disconnected several times last night.
A good night for like a legit rookie to have, I feel like, so that he can get properly reamed by the coach and they can look at some tape and be like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, and Wingdings thrown in there. Welcome, Wingdings. Saying starting Husso was the first hint that it was going to be a bad game. I think it was definitely a sign that we're not taking this game very seriously.
Do you think? Let's pivot to potential.
Can I say it's almost like you should have just started Cam yesterday, and then if we're going to get our Fuegos and our Heinies, our bare butt back and balls spanked by Florida, that we might as well have put Husso in there.
Now, Mike, did you watch the Rams and the Vikings game?
I did.
You're
see
aware
that
of
it
the
was.
Score?
I'm aware of the score. Yes.
Rams destroyed the Vikings, Mike, and one of the things that they had in their locker room was Dan Campbell's quote to O'Connell, the coach of the Minnesota Vikings. See you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. Yeah.
And the Rams took that personally. I took that personally, which I thought was very funny
Michael
because
Jordan?
normally you call out the team that you're about to face, and the Rams were like, well, Vikings are pretty swell guys, but this Dan Campbell piece of crap, look at him. You guys are going to teach him a lesson. Okay, so there's that story. Mike, do you think the Sharks saw that Billy Husso was being put in the net and they were like, motherfucker, you pieces of shit.
That's what you think of me? Is that what you're going to
get out of here scot-free with Billy Husso in net? Oh,
I'm putting up a 6-spot tonight.
Tonight.
You think a shark can't fly through the air and catch a red bird? 6 times. 6 times we're taking you down. Yeah.
Well, that might be why Todd McLellan saw this one coming, was the opening line on Max Boltman's article.
Before we get into this, Crimson is cooking tonight. He's cooking, saying, is Lion close to coming back from core surgery? How dare you, Crimson?
Oh, you son of a nutcracker.
Wait, go ahead.
Yeah, Todd McLellan saw this one coming, and that was based on some of the things we'll talk about here in a second. But Todd basically ended the Seattle game, or I should say the post game, with sort of his assessment was like, yeah, sure, we're up 4-0, but it was kind of like smoke and mirrors. Like, we were putting pucks in the back of the net, but it was nothing to celebrate. We actually weren't transitioning well. We weren't playing well on the boards. But yeah, we can get into this. I thought our third period against Seattle, this is a quote from Todd McLellan. I thought our third period against Seattle the other day showed up in the game today. Again, Max saying, like, Todd saw this coming. We were sloppy in the third. We gave up quite a bit. We started the game Tuesday that way. We didn't break pucks out very well. We did enter the offensive zone. We wanted to play east, west, cross court. Not a lot went to the net. So Todd basically calling out, like, this wasn't a surprise to me. I wasn't happy with the Seattle game, and I'm not happy with this. There was a call out too in Max's article. We'll back up a smidge here. Okay. Where is it? No practice between the Seattle game and the San Jose game. So that's something to look at, because we've all seen that some practices we just got to call out, play fucking hockey, and the Red Wings hear it. But Todd has also called out that at every practice they've been working on something new. And he said the players have really responded well because they win when they do the thing that he asks them to do. So I think one thing to continue to measure here, Mike, is when we are getting these practices, especially after a loss, and are things being fixed, and are the players still listening for that new coach boost? But to continue the conversation, where is this? Here's our next McLellan quote. They watched each other play for the first 10 minutes, which I think is like, these kind of quotes from coaches are just, they're crack. Like, I love them. Like, when he's going to see these guys in practice the next day, and there's nothing they can say. They're not going to be like, coach, but we played such a good game against the crappy Sharks and got our butts kicked. But so he could just say exactly what he feels. And it's fun. It's like therapy for a coach. So back to the quote, Todd McLellan, they watched each other play for the first 10 minutes. They're on a bench and they're watching things happen, and they can hear coaches barking, and they're saying the same thing. And the next group goes out and behaves the exact same way. So he's just like, these guys are just going through the motions. To me, that tells me they weren't sharp. They weren't alert. They weren't prepared to adjust. And that's how I felt tonight. Like, go back to that Eklund goal from Celebrini. Tell me they're not adjusting. Tell me they're not playing sharp. They're not alert. They're not ready for the guy behind them. They're not making the adjustment as the play unfolds. Who's going to go after Celebrini? Who's going after Eklund? Where is the transition once you get into the defensive zone? Instead, everybody was sort of chasing the puck. And then when they start turning around, they realize that there was a guy that got in behind them. Like, I like this quote for so many things. That one, it's a good therapy session for Todd. But two, did our man fucking nail it? Or did he not nail it? Like, he fucking nailed it, man. Like, that. This is exactly what we're talking about. This is like the exact problem we saw in those replays.
Yeah. I think it is, like, for the players, obviously, with that winning streak, it was a welcome relief to hear, like, a real transparent, critical coach, because they needed to hear that. Because I can't tell you how sick of hearing alone. Well, there's a couple things we're going to get the boys together. There's some things we're going to work on, and we're going to work on some things that I just don't want to talk about publicly. And I'm just glad that McLellan is like, no, Justin Hall sucked ass today. I think he knows he sucked ass, so we'd like him to suck less ass. So I know that's another quote we got coming, but
this is great. So Max calls out, like, I asked McLellan if he was trying to send a message.
Before you dive into that, I do want to just
damn it, you gave a perfect transition. All right, go ahead.
I just want to say, because we're gonna go through his quotes, right? Yeah. But just keep in mind the difference with this versus, like, Lalone saying, we really need Dylan Larkin to score more than a point a game, otherwise I'm gonna get fired here. It's just it's just a world of difference in the delivery, right? And again, why would you target Larkin when it was, a team-wide issue? And he's the captain, right? But he wasn't really the problem. It was a bigger issue than that. So Matt, let's see what McLellan had to say about Justin Hole, because he was a hole last night.
This you kind of stole the thunder here, but this was my favorite quote of the night because Max was like, "All right, well, Hall gets benched for like the last bit of the game here. 9:03 remaining. It's a turnover by Hall that causes it, and Hall gets benched for the rest of the game." This is, my favorite quote. Max asking, was he trying to send a message? And McLellan said he sent himself a message. I think that's pretty obvious. You can march him in here, and I'm not going to sit up here and BS for him. He had a terrible night, and that's just the way it is. So whether he got in the last 5 minutes or not, it really doesn't matter. He knows he could play better, and I'm telling you before I'm going to tell him, but I'm going to tell him tomorrow. And that's up to him to fix. I know he's a better player than that.
Matt, before we go any further, I just need you to read the last two sentences as Jesse the Body Ventura. Because that's a little bit like what we think McLellan sounds like. Yeah.
All right. I got
and that's up to him to fix.
Yeah.
McMahon. I know he's a better player than that.
So yeah,
and that's up to him to fix. I can't do it.
I ain't got time to fix him.
So yeah, I love the transparency. There's zero sugarcoating in any of this. It's something this team desperately needed after the kind of wishy-washy kicking rocks kind of attitude that they would have in past games when, Malone and his kind of more passive approach to trying to discipline and coach his players. That just fell on deaf ears. So God, is it nice to hear.
So McLellan continues about Husso. And this is after Max throws in there like that's nothing that's going to surprise Hall. And if I could real quick just talk about, everybody hates when I do this, but to compare hockey to the corporate environment and like the world I live in, the last thing you want,
people want, man.
The last thing anybody wants, not me saying this, what they don't want is to be in a one-on-one with their leader and have their leader just throw them something that's completely a surprise, like way out of, is it left field or right field? But they didn't see it coming, because you should be aware, like if you're performing poorly, if you're missing something, like that stuff isn't a surprise. So this is like good leadership too. Like you call people out when there is an issue, and you know what? I get paid to do my job. Justin Hall gets paid to play hockey. And at that moment, I think Todd McLellan would say that wasn't fucking hockey. But anyway.
By the way, Crimson did not like our Jesse the Body Ventura impressions. He thought we were doing a bad Sean Connery. So Crimson, we'll definitely try to work on that for you, buddy. But watch the first Predator movie.
Double roast beef, bacon, like what's the Will
Arby's Wagyu.
Yeah, Wagyu.
Yeah. That'll bring you home. Blake said he thought we were Catherine Hepburn. Sick reference, thanks, bro. I like that. Yeah. Blake, you're my knight in shining armor.
Now that was a really good one.
Thanks.
Mike,
Kyle,
do you want to hit this quote?
Yeah. Kyle also thrown in the craziest thing about Lalone when you read between the tea leaves is that McLellan basically said they aren't in shape for a 60-minute game. That's wild. 30-some odd games in when he got fired. It's hard, right? Kyle, I agree. I don't know if it was like they just didn't care about anything he said. I think he just broke this team mentality. So it's good that McLellan kind of came in here to rescue us. But I think we had one more quote you said. Yeah, to McClellan's point, just coming off of Max's article. It probably won't be anything Hall is surprised to hear, nor is Husso likely to disagree with McClellan's comment that
he probably has to find a way to make one of those saves, McMahon. He let in 5 on 23 shots,
McLellan added. However, that if
anybody in here thinks that game was on the goaltending, it sure damn wasn't.
All right, that was very nice.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, yes, I agree. I think Kyle mentioned it. I think there's a couple other people. I think Blake mentioned it. The first goal, yeah, there was a soft one, yes, but that defense just played so bad. They just really left Huso out to dry. Um,
It was
and then
a combo for sure.
yeah, and Dan B saying sometimes fear for your job will make you work harder. Um, yeah, I don't think anyone feared or respected Lalone at the end. I think he was a paper coach. It happens. He'll probably be an awesome assistant, win some Stanley Cups, but
You know
not
what I
everybody can
really
be a head coach.
you know what I really hated
What's
was
that?
Lalone's first comment after getting fired was just like getting spanked on your backside, but he just was like, "Thank you so much for the opportunity. I love Steve. I love the Illiches. Means so much, and hopefully somebody will give me another job." And it was just like, "Oh God, Derek, this was your chance to be like, like throw in some jabs where you're like, hey, sometimes when you got a roster that just doesn't play for you, like, what are you gonna do? Like, when you got Justin Hall, like specifically call out Hall."
I like Dan B saying there's good cop and bad cop. Lalone was definitely good cop. I think Lalone was more like, come on, you guys. He's
Well,
like a meter maid, that gets people for overstaying at the, spots in like Ferndale and Royal Oak. He wasn't a
well,
cop.
like we called out last week, the big test for this team and for Todd
Yeah.
is going to be, or I shouldn't say the next big test is where we're going to see like who is Todd McLellan, who is this team, because the first test was pulling them out of the gutter. Test number 2 was going to be that first loss at the end of the winning streak. We're at that first loss. It looked like shite. And Max has the quote, after 3 weeks of injecting life back into their season, it's time to find out if the Red Wings are ready for what comes after the honeymoon. McLellan, disappointing night for our group. New experience for us in our few weeks here. We have a good skate tomorrow, and then I'm anxious to see, do we carry this with us or do we respond? And if we respond and we do the proper things, I don't know if we'll win or lose, but we'll give ourselves a chance. And if we don't, then we got a lot of work to do. Ends the press conference, mic drop, Todd's out of there. Great last comment. I think it makes sense. I think this is where he's hoping we'll hold him accountable. Steve will hold him accountable. Is he going to see the things that get carried in? Is he going to fix those things over this? What's the streak here? Is Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning, Dallas Stars, and then you don't want to go. You don't want to go to Philadelphia to face the Flyers, but it's not the hardest of that bunch. Certainly winnable. But like we called out last week, we looked at, you could win 8 in a row. You could lose 8 in a row with the schedule that was coming up. And we'll see what happens. I think Todd's right. Like, it's not going to be right now about wins and losses. And we just called it out before this even started. And Dan B threw it out there like, hey, if you get that last wild card spot, maybe you get the Leafs. You might.
True.
You might not. You might have to face Alex Ovechkin or Jack Hughes. So you might get the Metro on that other side, which won't be fun. But there's also Florida up there. So I would say your chances of facing a really difficult first round are there. They exist. And even Toronto, as much as we like to joke around, they have defense, they have goaltending this year, and they're doing all of this winning without Austin Matthews for a good chunk, not more majority, but a good chunk of the season so far. So I'd be scared of the Leafs right now too. So I think I agree with Todd. Let's not focus on the win or loss. Let's see what this team looks like, because that San Jose game, take out the win or loss, we look like shit. Todd's making the argument, we look like shit in that Seattle game and got lucky with some pucks going in early. Let's right the ship. Let's get back to playing effing hockey again. And I agree with Todd. If you watched that game last night and you were making excuses, I don't know. There's something wrong with you, but that was a hard game to watch with all the gaps. And I didn't feel the same way about Seattle, but I'm going to trust Todd because he's laying it out with a ton of honesty here for us.
I
So
will
Todd's looking
say-
at 2 bad games in a row, technically.
We'll say, let's do 4 bad periods in a row. I guess I would just say that I like. Can you go back to that last quote for me real quick?
Of
The
course.
last slide.
Any day now, I will.
I think just him talking, like you just kind of piggyback on what you're saying. Do we carry this with us? How do we respond? I don't know if we'll win or lose, but we'll give ourselves a chance. If we don't, we got a lot of work to do. I think just tying that into like our winning streak wasn't exclusively jabronis. Yes, Chicago. Yes, Seattle. But Ottawa, that was a huge win. Winnipeg, that was a huge win. Columbus, a must-have. We beat the Capitals. That's a really good team too. And it's weird because even yesterday, we did lose, and it was because of some defensive lapses. It was still different from earlier in the season where it felt like if we go down 1 or 2-0, game's over. We're not going to score any goals. We don't know how to score goals, right? So I think there was still that opportunity for us to maybe get some goals and make it a game again, and we just couldn't get any stops on defense. So I think for me, McLellan, again, has transformed this team that I think they can beat just about anybody. It's just about, what kind of effort we put out. Because he reminded me personally that this team can still win, that they can still score, that they can still compete, that they do have pretty talented players on their, first couple lines. So I think that's why I like that quote. It's, let's see what kind of effort we really put into this.
Yeah. Danby coming in hot with another topic I'd like to talk about. No Jared Goff chance last night, and Wings
Dan,
lost.
I'm ready for that too. It's jump the shark. I'm ready to retire the Jared Goff chant.
No.
Yeah.
No,
what we should be chanting is Penny Sewell. Penny Sewell. He just doesn't have a great name for that.
Look, it's not about Jared Goff. It's a rallying cry for Detroit Lions fans who have not had anything this close.
I know, but he's not
to a
even
Super
our,
Bowl to cheer about.
Top 8-9 player.
But unless Jared feels like, oh, this is kind of awkward because I know I'm not the best player on the team. They know it. They're kind of just treating me like I'm, the red-haired stepchild in the movie who hits the home run at the end of the game. And everybody's like, I guess he's not so bad after all.
Jared is correct. We can do Anzalone. Clap, 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 clap.
I mean, I don't know why we're not leaning into anal zone. It's right there. Mix up the letters, everybody. Right into the anal zone. Let's go. All right.
Derek, welcome. His first comment here. He's attempting to go for a late goal here to get comment of the episode saying, last night I thought Lalone stepped into coach one last time. Sorry if someone made that joke already. I just got here. Derek, you are the first one to make that joke. Congratulations, sir. You have a bid for comment of the episode.
Well, one thing as we get deeper into this, because we've got a couple weeks, and then we've got Four Nations face off, and then you are about a string of like 5 games away from the trade deadline after that, which is just crazy to think about, like how close we are to the trade deadline.
Yeah.
But a couple things to think about with this huge messy middle. We won't have the same names available because there's going to be a lot of teams thinking they could add a piece or just hold on and try and get in there. Why am I going to get rid of my unrestricted free agents? But even to that point, the list of trade boards right now, like even if everything came to fruition, besides Elias Pettersson and JT Miller, and we went over some of the names last week. I mean, if you look at like Bleacher Report, like Brock Nelson, not what the Red Wings need right now. Ivan Provorov, nope, I'm good. Brandon Saad, no thank you. Chris Kreider, too old. Taylor Hall, too bad at hockey. John Gibson, I mean,
Wow.
I
That's a
guess
who's
if you're
who there.
stuck with Huso, you want to have the conversation, but then do you really want to pay $6.4 million for John Gibson? And then you got Dylan Cousins, but do you think Dylan Cousins is gonna come in here and save the day either? I gotta tell you, like,
I think it's what Blake mentioned earlier. It's Byram or bust.
I don't see him on these lists here. Was he on the Athletics list? I can't remember.
He is his contract is expiring after this season. Buffalo's kind of already got they're paying Rasmus $11 million. They're paying Owen Power $8.3. Samuelson 4.2, and I just feel like are they going to really allocate all those funds to their top 4 defensemen, especially a guy who wants a shot at being number 1? And really, he'd be playing next to Seider. He'd be number 2. But I don't know if they want to keep allocating funds like that. So maybe they'll want to move him for a forward of sorts. So I think it's mostly like a money thing.
I mean,
it
would solve a lot of problems. And the call out here from The Athletic is for Bowen Byram. Sabres certainly aren't shopping the 23-year-old defenseman, but he may be the piece they have to put in play in order to make a significant shakeup. Byram is an elite skater who can log big minutes and should still have his best and most productive seasons ahead. He's also due for a new contract, like you mentioned, after the season as a pending restricted free agent.
Thanks,
Sabres
man.
control his rights, but they're a team with a lot of money and years are already tied up in their blue line. So decisions are looming.
We'd have to give up one of our guys we drafted in the first round for him. I don't think it would come cheap, but I mean, I just sincerely doubt they want to, spend money on defensemen like that. That's a crazy amount. That's crazy. I don't know if there's takers. I don't know if there's takers yet for Cousins, unless you sweeten the deal by eating some of the money on their end. So,
yeah, I was gonna say, is there a package here with Cousins and Bowen Byram that you would consider to kind of speed up? You would speed up the process here quite a bit, and even looking ahead to next season, like you could have Edvinsson and Seider as your first pair, Byram and the Pelican, Mike. Axel could be coming in with your second pair.
How dare you?
I
would trade Edvinsson before I would Pelika. How dare you? But it doesn't help us because.
Wait, I'm not trading them.
I thought you were.
That's my first pair, my second pair. Yeah.
Also, Blake, thank you. What the hell, Matt? Blah.
I'm getting rid of Michael Brandt-Nygaard and Nate Danielson and who else could we get? You know what? We'll throw in Trey Augustine. Why not? Let's do it.
So Byram for Matt is the final piece of this puzzle.
No, I just think that you're not talking about pieces that are guaranteed to like make a huge difference, or like we haven't seen enough even this year to say like, yeah, when they come over, very little development. They'll be just good to go pieces that are hot and ready.
They'd be thrown in there Buchelnikov, which I feel like he's the Grand Theft Auto 6 because I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, is that did we talk? Is that 2026 still that we're waiting for him to be eligible to come on over from the KHL?
I think that's Grand Theft Auto 6. Yeah.
Oh, I totally did not get that joke at all. 100%. I did not get it. But that actually isn't that more like now you're talking about like the new like Elder Scrolls 6 because
No, it's not going to happen.
Grand Theft Auto is coming out this year, so we're good.
We'll see. Dan B also trying to get a lifetime ban from the show, saying won't have too much to worry about in terms of golf after Saturday. Dan, easy. That's our hero over there.
You just said he's not your hero.
I know, but he is our quarterback for a gigantic playoff game. Tristan Yari on waivers. How about a 1-for-1? Tristan Yari for Huso. Who says no?
Well, you won't have. You just
Who says
just
no?
pick them up. Just pick them up. You're good to go. Anybody bummed that we didn't get Daniel Sprong last week? So Jeff Merrick
Yes.
did an in memoriam for him, and just kind of that is notorious for anybody who's a Jeff Merrick fan, like I am, his favorite hockey player. And yeah, he hitched onto a wagon that was already sinking. So good luck, Daniel Sprong, in the AHL, becoming I don't know, probably the best AHL goal scorer of all time. He's just gonna light it up down there. Become an AHL legend. You're not good enough for the NHL. Go to where you can dominate and
He could
just
be
own that
the
league.
Crash Davis of the AHL.
Oh, Jared, we'll see Half-Life 3 before Booch. There was a leak of Half-Life 3 screenshots.
Ooh.
This year. We got rumors for Switch 2, Half-Life 3, and what's the other one? Oh, I guess Grand Theft Auto
Madden
6 is
26
supposed to come out.
Just
Yeah.
kidding. That's coming out.
What about have you heard the discussion on if anybody listens to Kind of Funny, they were talking about this, but Skyrim comes out on 11/11/11. Is Elder Scrolls 6 waiting till 2026? They like their numbers. I don't know. Just so they can make an ad that says, like, it says Elder Scrolls 6, and then it'll change to Roman
Could be.
numerals.
Could be. We're gonna wrap this up with some hockey talk here. Blake saying he'd rather see Soderblom called up. Blake always throwing that dart out there for some pandering, and I like it. I want to see more Soderblom in there. And then Crimson asking, is Mott out with an upper body injury? Yes, there should be an accompanying call up for that, I believe. I think there was somebody getting called up. That might still be in the works. But Dan B is not familiar with these games. He's still playing Space Invaders. Derek Hand, how dare you, sir? Sanded Pelika for Zegras. Who says no? Me! I'm going to be out at LCA protesting.
Well, Dominic Shine is still leading the Griffins in points with 25. Nate Danielson, it's very respectable. 19 points in 35 games. Super respectable. 3 goals. Amadeus Lombardi, everybody sort of anointed him as the savior. I think some injuries are in there, but he said 15 points in 20 games. Soderblom, Mike, he has been in all of them.
They needed to add another column.
13 and 35.
They need to add another column for height because he leads this team far and away by at least 7 inches.
Yeah, actually, coming back to Lombardi, he is second on the team in points per game. It's not bad.
Yeah, a lot of Hall of Famers to choose from, so it's going to be hard for Steve to pick just one there. We definitely can't put any of these guys in trades. These guys are huge.
Guaranteed, Mike.
Yeah.
Guaranteed all-stars, top to bottom. I don't know if you knew that.
I was hoping you were going to guaranteed on that one.
I think it's about time we wrap this sucker up.
And Derek said he was testing me. You were testing my patience, good sir. How dare you? I would never make that impossible trade. It's just a lose-lose for me. I need both of them on one team. That's what I want. And then we do have a bid for Lombardi and the Laser himself, Mr. Mazer, are both hurt. And Bouillon replacing Hall. I think what's going to happen is Hall is going to get a scolding, and we will see him for 18 to 20 minutes against Florida.
Aww.
I think that's about all we get is a scolding, and then a sheepish
average
20 minutes from Mr. Hall.
Here's a third of the game. There you go, sir.
Enjoy.
All right. What? 0-4?
Ooh. No, because again, I
I'm
think
just
we talked
kidding.
about it. It's not about the skill level. It's at this point, I think it's just
Yeah.
about these guys bring it every night against really tough competition. They did bring it for 7. I'd say 7 games in a row, maybe 6 games in 2 periods. And then they had 4 kind of not great periods in a row.
Let's
Yeah.
say this. Goal differential right now is at -15. It's 4-game road trip. Let's try not let's shoot for, what did I say, -15. Let's say it's a success if we're below -19 or above.
Man, that's
There's a win mixed in there. I'm throwing that.
some
You got at least
DraftKings
one
math
win.
I got to do there. Yeah, is 2 and 2 a win?
No, I'm just saying let's play some close games here. Let's not do another lose by multiple goals to a, you just lost by multiple goals to the Sharks, but you've got some much
If we can tread water with these 4 games, is that a success?
by points.
8 points possible. We walk away with 4 seems rough because there's some overtime losses. How about 5 points? Can we get 5 points? Is that too many?
That's too many.
4 points?
I was going to say 3 points, and they're all overtime losses. Maybe 4 points, and they're all overtime losses. Let's do that.
3 overtime losses, and then a regular 8-0.
Yeah.
That is, the bar is low.
No, I mean, honestly, I think we're getting 1 win. I'm smelling like 3 points out of this road trip. I think that's fine. It's rough. It's a rough road trip. I'm sorry. So what happens? You're on the road and you're playing good hockey teams. We're at home for a lot of this winning streak. So,
all right. Well, the boys are checking out. We'll check in with you guys next week, and hopefully they haven't completely crapped the bed. And also stop shaking, Matt. What are you doing over there?
Oh, I'm kicking my camera. I'm so sorry.
We can all see it. We can see when you're not paying attention, and we can see when you are kicking things.
All right. Blake says 8 points. Blake, will buy. We'll come back to this. Mike?
Yes. Blake, if we get 8 points.
No, I'm going to fly. Blake, I don't know if you live in Michigan. I'm going to fly you to Michigan, and you can watch any game you want, Red Wings game, if the Wings come back with 8 points. I don't care.
Wow.
If you
Jared,
live in
that,
Japan,
and especially if you live in Japan, Matt will pick you up with a cardboard sign and drive you to LCA.
Would be a good. Would Australia be a really expensive flight? I feel like. Blake, do you live in Australia?
Are you in the continental U.S.?
Should I put a disclaimer? If Blake is in the continental U.S., I will fly you into Michigan. You will watch whatever Red Wings game you want from Little Caesars Arena. We'll try and get you as close to the ice as possible.
Now, you'll notice, Blake, Matt did not say you're going to sit anywhere. You'll just be at the game.
We're going to sneak you in, man.
You might be in the back row in the nosebleeds, but Matt will get you in there.
Blake says, book it. All right. I'll sit down. You give me those details. All right, everybody. You got to come in hot to get these kind of perks for being a Red Wings Rant listener. You got to come in hot with your takes. All right. See you, everybody.
Thanks for checking in again. We love you guys.
Oh.